About 6 weeks ago, I announced that I am embarking on a 3-month experiment using a Franklin planner. And I'm not talking about a digital version of the old Franklin planner. I'm talking about the full-blown classic size Franklin planner. And I did promise when I announced that I would be doing this little experiment that I would give you updates as we went through. Well, here today is the first update, and there are a few things that I've learned. First up, paper calendars don't work very well in today's world. Franklin Planner gives you a monthly calendar view, and I have not really used that very much. Now, I've put in Louis' hair appointments when he gets his hair cut. I've also put in the days when I'm not going to be here and any workshops that I'm doing for various companies and so on. I do put those in there, but I don't find it particularly helpful. The digital calendar is where all my appointments are. I use a scheduling service for my coaching clients so they can book appointments without having to go email back and forth. And that just works brilliantly. And the calendar digital world, I think that is just the way forward. I mean, it just makes sense. It makes it easier for other people to schedule appointments with you. You can use scheduling services like Calendly, where you can actually give appointment times to people and they can pick and choose what suits them. You cannot obviously do that when you're using an analog system. Although one of the great benefits of using an analog calendar is you are 100% in control about what goes on your calendar. Often, particularly if you've got a company-based calendar, people can schedule appointments on your calendar without your knowing that they're doing it. So there are advantages, but really in the digital world, I think the digital calendar, whether it's Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, or Outlook, I think that really is the way forward. So that was the first thing I've noticed. I'm not really using the calendar, the monthly calendar in my Franklin Planner particularly very much. However, earlier this year, I suggested that one of the best ways to get you focused on the most important things for the day is to use a simple A7 ring-bound notebook like this one. And this you would keep on your desk all the time so that you could see the 1 or 2 things, or perhaps 3 on a busy day, that you really must get done. This effectively is for your must-do tasks for the day. Well, what I've noticed as I've been using the Franklin Planner is because of the prioritized daily task list and the fact that you leave this flat open on your desk all day, I don't actually need this anymore because my prioritized daily task list is now right in front of me throughout the day. I can see my tasks. I can also see pretty much all the time what I've done and what I've still got to do. Now this, as opposed to where a digital task manager comes in, because the digital task manager is great at showing you your day for the list, and you can manipulate the view, particularly if you're using Todoist. So you can show just your prioritized tasks, the flagged ones, or you can show everything, or you can filter it down various ways. The problem I've got there with digital task managers is when I actually then start doing my writing, for example, I close Todoist. My Todoist to-do list for the day is not open. So all those things, they're out of my mind. I'm focused, which in many ways is actually very good. But with this on my desk, I have got it flat on my desk and I'm typing away on my computer. I can see my task list for the day, and I can see the things that are really important because they are a task. They are A1 and they're 2, 3, whatever. They are always in the top, and I really like that. And it's very much similar to having this on your desk all day, because in those moments where you stop and you think, okay, your eye line naturally goes down to the paper on your desk and you just like, oh yeah, I need to do that. But then you'll get back to doing your work and you can get things moving because you're very aware of what you've given for your day. And I think that's something that I really, really like, and something that the digital task manager doesn't do very well because we don't have it open all day. What I've noticed with people who have dual monitors, for example, they're more likely to have their calendar open on the second monitor, not their to-do list. And I'm sure you can set up different views if you wish, but this to me is just a really nice way to give my eyes a rest from a screen and just look at paper just for a brief moment to say, oh yeah, I'm going to do that task next. Now, staying with the task manager for a moment, the other thing that I find really good about using a Franklin Planner or any real analog system is that every day you need to write down your prioritized daily task list. Now, this is absolutely great because it really does help you to remove the clutter, the little tasks that really don't need to be done today. The things that you write down here are the really important stuff, the stuff that you must do. I was asked by my wife earlier as she left the house earlier today to take her washing out of the washing machine. Now, in the past, I would have maybe just scribbled that down into my inbox in Todoist, and then I wouldn't have seen it. And 4 o'clock when she gets home, her washing would be still in the washing machine. I actually write it down here on into my Franklin Planner, and I can see that right there. It is there. It needs to be done. I'm not going to forget this because, oh, there'll be trouble if I have not removed my wife's washing from the washing machine by 4 o'clock today. And that's one of the great things about this because it's open all the day. But the other thing about this is I'm not putting down stuff I don't really need reminders for. I know I need to do my email later today. I know I need to do my admin today. And I have processes for both of those things. They don't need to be in my Franklin Planner, so I don't put them there. What goes on here are the really important things that need or should be done today. So my must-dos and should-dos go on here. And what I've noticed is my to-do list is getting shorter each day because I'm always asking that question, do I really need to write this down? Am I really going to forget to do that? So I've found that my daily prioritized task list is much shorter than what it was when I was using a digital system. Now, that doesn't mean to say that the digital system doesn't work. Of course it does work. But I think the problem there is it's so easy to throw stuff in there. And because we're human and we like to complicate things, we have so many different lists and we start fiddling and looking at different lists. The Franklin Planner just keeps you focused on today. I mean, I've got my day list open here. I can see what needs to be done. And I'm always constantly thinking, okay, when I've done this, I'm going to get that done. I'm going to take a rest there. I'll take the dog for a walk here, and then I'll get those tasks done. It's just really, really good way of keeping you focused on what you have decided are the most important things to be done today. And finally, for this particular update, I will be doing more updates in the future, the daily list, the daily notes. Now, I've used these in digital formats. I often take meeting notes directly into Evernote, which is the notes app I use. But one of the things I've found is if I'm in back-to-back meetings, and often I'll have like 3 hours of meetings with, 3 different meetings, 1 hour each. I'm just like bang, 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 throwing stuff into those meeting notes. And then they get lost in the shuffle because I'm also grabbing other stuff. Now, every weekend I do a weekly planning and I do clean up my notes, but there's no like natural reference there. One of the great things about the daily notes area of your Franklin Planner is you can take your meeting notes directly onto that sheet of paper. Then you can divvy up or divide up all the tasks that maybe need to do and you can add them into your system. But I love the fact that all my meetings for today will be written down in here. And now I have an immediate reference. That's today's date plus the number of the note that I'm taking. It's a beautiful system and it really, really does work. And I've really struggled to get that working in a digital format. Evernote now gives you a daily note. It automatically creates a daily note if you wish. You can do this in Apple Notes, OneNote, you can do it in Notion, you can do it in Obsidian, you can do daily notes in many, many different apps. But the problem is, how often do you go back and look at those notes? This is the real critical thing. Great to collect stuff, and I notice most people are really good at collecting stuff, but they're not very good at organizing what they've collected. And so what I found here is, because you've got the monthly index, on the Saturday when I'm doing my weekly planning, I just update my weekly index. So it's very, very easy to find stuff that I've done. I actually have started writing down like little bits of research. So I was watching a video the other day with historian Neil Ferguson, and he was talking about some of the books that he recommends to read about different periods of history. And I wrote them down into my Franklin Planner. Now I've got a list of, I'm not buying the books right now, I've got a ton of books to read on my coffee table. But it's now I've got a list, so I can say history books to read as recommended by Neil Ferguson. And so it's great because I know, oh yeah, I know I've got some books to read. And I can just go to my index and I can see the date and I can then just open up the note. This may take a little longer than if you were organizing digital notes, but I do find it actually a lot more intuitive to use this system rather than using a digital system. That was the main thing that I've picked up so far. Now, one final thing, and this is just for you pen lovers out there. One of the problems I've got with the Franklin Planner is the paper quality is horrendous. I really, really want to use my Lamy 2000. I love this pen. It's one of the best pens ever made. But the problem is, and even though this has got a fine nib, and it really is a fine nib, I find that it does bleed through to the other page. And I've got the leadership pages, which was told would be better quality than the original ones. But what I decided to do is go back to my school days and say, okay, I've got to use a ball pen, or a biro as we call them in the UK. So I bought a box of Bic crystal pens, biros, ball pens. And I love these. I mean, this is an iconic design from the 1950s, I believe. It was the first ball pen to be, it wasn't the invention of the ball pen, but it was the first mass-produced ball pen. And the design has not changed since it was first created, except for one tiny little detail. Now, you might not be able to see this here, but you'll see there's a hole at the top of the cap. That was put in because one child choked on the original cap. It came off, because it does come off, and they put it in their mouth, as kids are wont to do. And that was closed off, and apparently they choked, and it became a real legal issue for the Bic company. So they decided, well, the best thing to do is put a hole in the top, which they did. That's the only design change since they first made these pens. And then I saw a video with Jerry Seinfeld, who absolutely adores these pens. And he mentioned that what he does now is he writes it down so that the ink is absolutely dry. Now, I know, because I've read the history on these, that you have 3-kilometer line of ink in here. So if you put it on the ground and you pull along, for 3 kilometers, it would keep working. But I thought, whoa, that's a really good thing to do for my Franklin Planner experiment over the next 3 months, or it isn't now, it's about 2.5 months left. I thought, right, let's see how much ink I can use from this. And I can use the cap. When you put the cap on, you can actually get things like that, and you can see how much you're using. I know it's childish, I know, but oh, it is a lot of fun. Just think, oh, and actually these write really well for a ball pen. I'm not a big fan of ball pens, but this works very well. I thought I would just end on that, because I know a lot of you watching these videos do like pens and paper, and particularly if you're watching the Franklin Planner one, you're more likely to be interested in that. So the Bic Crystal, they still make them. They make millions of these a year. Try and use just one and finish the whole ink in the pen. I just think that's a great little thing to have, because we live in a materialistic world. These are really, really cheap, and we throw away stuff unnecessarily. One of these could last years if you use it every day. So there you go. That's my first update on using a Franklin Planner in my 3-month experiment. Will I go, because I know people are going to, will I go back to digital? Of course I will. I live in a digital world. I love my Todoist. But for now, the main purpose of this is to get myself back to basics. Basics of time management and productivity, without all the distractions of these new features and little bells and whistles that digital stuff can and do give you. I'm finding that very distracting. Really, what I want a task manager to do is exactly what the Franklin Planner does. Here's the list of your tasks to do today. Here's your appointments. Now get on with your day. And that's what the Franklin Planner does beautifully. Thanks for watching this video. And if you want to learn more about the Franklin Planner setup, then this video up here is the next video to watch.